Got it. And then
let me make you host. And now you are host.
Host with the most. The host with the most. Okay. I'm going to share screen 2. All right. Now, let me know when you can see my screen.
I can see it.
Awesome. Now, can you hear this?
No.
No, you cannot. All right. That is a pain in the patoot. So what we're going to do is, where are all my buttons are up here. Let's get the chat open. I'm going to shoot you guys
Today is going to be
URL.
Another private class with you and Jackie.
Okay.
I am going to be at every single other class. I just, for some strange reason, last class and this class didn't quite work with my schedule. I'm going to be at every single other class, and I'm still going to be casting my sigil privately and showing it off.
All right.
But I love you guys. Have a wonderful class, and I will see you at the end.
Toodles.
Thank you.
All right, girl. So I went ahead and shot you a link. I'm going to shoot you a second one. Okay. So those aren't for like immediately right now, but they will be relevant here in a second. First off, hi.
Hi.
How you doing? How was your holiday?
It was interesting because I don't know. I'm in Chicago, so I don't know if you had heard about the Highland Park shooting here in Illinois.
Sure did.
So that was a big deal here. They had the 4th of July parade, and it went a little sideways. There was a mass shooting. 6 people were killed and 16 people were injured. So.
Yep. Well, it would, would it really be America for beginners if we didn't have some major event accompanied by a mass shooting?
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Oh, wow. It's an interesting thing that mass shootings are now finally hitting sort of the collective unconscious as bellwether of the unhealth of our society in some way. Now, I recently sort of, because Jade became aware of it too, I started pulling all the stats on mass shootings. And mass shootings are really defined by a number of people hit by bullets, right?
Mm-hmm.
And with very few exceptions, there has been, on average, 1.2 days is the only respite time in between mass shootings, and that has been the case for several years in our country. So the level of scrutiny, awareness, and political positioning and leveraging that this truth of our culture is garnering is a curious, do you remember Romper Room's magic mirror?
I've heard of it.
It was fun. It was just a empty plastic hoop, probably for large bubbles, making large bubbles, right? Where you have to wave your whole arm to get enough force and air behind it to create a large bubble. And the host of the show would like pull it up and look through it. And then of course it would zoom out in Magic TV land, right? And some subtext would begin in an animated fashion. The awareness of mass shootings is a magic mirror. So put that in your hat for a little bit, right? And brew and stew on that. That nothing has changed when it comes to the sickness, when it comes to the symptom, when it comes to the disease vector, the gun, when it comes to access and rights. Nothing has changed. In all of those years, we have still had every 1.2 days a mass shooting, going all the way back to Columbine. So why now the magic mirror? These kinds of narratives get spun out and retracted and spun out and retracted and spun out and retracted based on their utility to some established power structure. I'm not saying it's I'm not saying it's a condonable aspect of humanity, because I don't believe that. And oh yes, I'm one of those radical fucking liberals who's like, wow, you know what? Canada doesn't have mass shootings. Want to know why? They can't legally buy guns. Wow, Great Britain? Yeah, do they have mass shootings? No. Guess why? Can't buy guns. The commonality is in the vector of death, the gun. What I find particularly interesting is the cultural meme behind this, and the market and institutionalized forces that are using it as your magic mirror. So, something to think about. Let's throw it on the heap of 9. Okay. We all need to do protection work at all times. Yeah. This may be a great index of, I need to put some protections around my home, myself, my family, my loved ones, those I care about, my inner circles, right?
Oh, most definitely.
Yeah. So if you want, you can optionally wrap that into your sigil of 9, which is today's number. So that was a sideways, complicated note. I think that everything has an antidote. So what positive occurred over your holiday weekend? Anything?
Well, I have had a very good session since doing the Sigil of 10. And I was extremely excited. So after I did the first one, I want to say it was either that night or the next morning, because I couldn't really sleep very well because I was so excited. But I thought I'd done something wrong. So I was like, okay, well, I didn't have the euphoric experience like you had, obviously. But I did have an experience nonetheless. And
Okay.
I was just higher than a kite off my incense, higher than a kite off of this energy that had just been lifted off my shoulders, it felt like.
Nice.
And in my journal, I wrote down that, it had been lifted off my shoulders and I felt like the water had flown through me and it had taken over my spirit, and I felt like weightless, like I was being just in this relaxational state.
Buoyed.
Yeah. And while the day normally went uneventful, the next day and stuff, I had, my interviews went well, and I was dealing with, my granddaughter's father. And he was having some issues with his own spirituality. And he is a Christian. So he is a very open-minded Christian. He wants to understand why things happen the way they do, and he's still wanting to learn about everything.
And he's willing to change his mind if he
Yeah.
gets evidence or input. Yep, awesome.
Yeah.
Best kind of human.
And so he was asking me a whole bunch of questions because he was feeling some sort of way. He was feeling like something was watching him. He was feeling like, he was just under so much pressure. And I was able to actually talk to him and help him to relax. And it put me in a mindset like, hey, maybe I am doing a good thing with my spirituality. Maybe I am doing something good. And I never thought about it in that sense. I never thought about, okay, hey, I'm doing something worthiness of me. And since then, it's just progressively gotten so much better. I went the next day, which would have been on the 1st, which was my daughter's birthday. And I had another peaceful night of sleep. It was just like, I was being rebirthed, it was like that reawakening was happening for me. And I am still like in awe, because it was like, okay, I'm going to be performing magic for the first time. I'm doing this. I hope I don't create World War III here, because I was just so worried. So worried I was going to screw something up. And it was like, I wasn't angry. I was less judgmental. I was finishing my work. I was having that freedom of that peace in my heart. And it was nice. It felt wonderful. And then
that's awesome. You
journaled
journaled all this, right?
I did.
Yeah, good.
3 days worth.
Awesome.
And then the next day it would have been the 3rd. And so I journaled it all yesterday after I woke up and everything. Yep. And I had a later day than I normally do. And I had all this anger that I was taking away from my best friend and stuff, because he had been going through some family issues. He had a death in his family. And so I was trying to help him take that energy. And so he didn't have so much pain and stuff. Yeah. And so it was hard. It was really hard. I ended up sleeping quite a bit yesterday because of it.
Weight of it. Yeah. The emotional weight. Yeah.
But I realized I wouldn't have been able to take in as much of that energy and still yet be able to give him that comforting energy as well. And it's just been, and like, I'm in awe, just like complete awe by the whole entire process. And I've been talking to different people, and it's like, I'm not so scared to tell people I'm a witch.
Yeah. No, yeah, absolutely.
And it was something that when I went to my apprenticeship with Micah for astrology, I was like, we were talking about how I started realizing I was different than everybody else, and how I started realizing that, things were not in the normal. And when I was married to my ex-husband and stuff, he took me to this new age shop. And back in the day, that wasn't something that was normal. Like, only freaks went into the new age shops, It wasn't something I couldn't go. I couldn't go into the shop. I was freaking out. I was hyperventilating. I didn't know what was wrong with me. And
welcome to the freakness, by the way.
Yeah. He finally got me into the store, and
you were like, oh, it's home.
Well, it was because I saw a statue of Venus, the one.
Oh, it was Venus. Did she talk to you?
She did. Yeah. And every time I turn around, there's something with her. There's something.
There she is.
She is, and it makes more and more sense because I'm a Taurus rising. With Venus is part of my house.
Yeah, you know who tags along right behind Venus at almost all times, and that's Hestia.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. So they do. They, and it's funny. They kind of cluster. The gods and goddesses kind of cluster in these sort of very predictable groups after a while, and they show up with U-Hauls and their friends,
Well,
which
and
you have to
it's,
watch out for.
I do, and it's funny
Yeah.
because we had just got a kitten, and my son was like, "Okay, if it's a boy, we'll name him Hercules, and if it's a girl, we'll name him Venus." And I'm like, "Why would you want to name him Venus?" He goes, "Because that's my favorite planet." And I'm like, "Okay, that's what we'll go with."
There you
So
go.
what do we got? We got a Venus
In the house.
in the house.
Venus in the house.
Yes, yes. So the overall
That's okay.
is
We have
just,
Sirius in the house.
you have Sirius, like Sirius Black.
The dog star. Oh, you don't know about Sirius? So
No.
I'll tell you when you're done telling your story, and we'll talk about Sirius.
Yeah. So I mean, I was so happy. I mean, just beyond words happy. And my best friend, he's like, "Man, you're just bouncing off the walls the last couple days. What's going on?" I was like, "I did magic." So I'm excited. I really am.
Honey, welcome. Oh, excuse me. Welcome to your bigger world,
Yes.
right? And the awesome part about this is, once you, it's like any other set of muscles, right? Once you get into a regular rhythm of using this aspect of self, the easier it gets, the more integrated it gets with your whole, like your whole personality on the quantum level, as well as like energetic sense of perception, to where a lot of the discernment will come later with, no, that's me, no, that isn't me, that's extrinsic to me, that's astral, that's just a waveform moving through the sort of the God soul and the psychic body of humanity. That's this, that's this, that's this. And the best thing you can do right now is journal all your successes, and keep it like right there with, like, when you begin to like feel really, it's just like turning on a drive, you just turned on the drive. Well, it has like 80,000 speeds, girl. You're still in gear one, right?
That's what I keep hearing.
So
So
yeah, okay, good. So, and just know that your journey is going to be fully unique to you. This is really the first, you can theorize all day and all night about what it is to do magic. And then when you finally do it, you get this. And this is what you remember when I was early on in the class, I was talking about the difference between belief and faith, right? That belief is really, it's something you were told, it's part of the landfill, right? All this shit you've been told, and you kind of throw it in the landfill and you pull it up every once in a while and reinculcate it, unlike faith, which is really experientially based. And here you finally have, not your faith and belief systems are coming into closer alignment with really your own practice in life. That resonance can produce a tremendous high. Keep it, feed off of it, sip it. One of the things that I do is I draw off of that elation, energy, high vibe, and I create a kiss to my God soul, right? I call it a ha. We in fairy call it a ha prayer. Ha means four in Polynesian, and we simply call it that because you start with the fourfold breath, and then your last exhalation, you take all that energy and breath and you throw it up to your own user interface to the divine, your own God soul. And we follow it with the flower prayer. Who is this flower above me? And what is the work of this God? I would know myself in all my parts. Right? So the prayer is just for self-gnosis, and that's it. But it helps, one, convert the energy to divine energy, which then can influence and monitor and influence our lives. And it gives me something useful and meaningful to do other than just become a spiritual high junkie, which there are in the world. There are plenty of them. And really, they don't care about results so much as just getting spiritually high.
Yeah, I think I've run across, I call them like energy vampires.
Bingo. That's
Yeah,
right.
there's a lot of them in this world. They see that you're doing better. They see that you're wanting to shine, and so they want to gravitate towards you. And it's like,
That's right.
now I gotta stick all my jewelry on and up my wall and everything else. And it's like, okay, now what?
Or just go dark, serious, go invisible.
And that's the hard part for me, because it's like I have so many people that are connected to me, my kids and everything. If I go dark, then I go dark completely, and I can't go dark because of them. You know, then they wouldn't be able to sense me the way I need them to.
Time and practice. We'll get there. So, sounds like an awesome time. Sounds like you had brilliant castings.
I did.
Now that you know what a successful casting feels like in your body, I want you to try and memorize that. Now, here's part of the trick that we can do to assist ourselves in magic.
Yeah.
Aleister Crowley talked about it in the sense of his primary definition of magic, which is cultivating the ability to shift consciousness at will. I add something additional to that to really clarify, based on these junkies and vampires that we were talking about, right?
Mhm.
I define magic as cultivating that ability to shift consciousness at will to the end of aligning better my self with my own higher self or divine self. Now, I want you to take a moment to conceive, if you will, the possibility. Imagine, if you can't believe it, that there is actually an intersection between yourself and your own divine nature. What does your divine nature look like? Holy maternal, holy paternal, holy beneficial and a benefactor, wholly cognizant and wholly potent, right? It is in fairy we call it the most whole sound and perfect part of me is my own God nature. And imagine, if you will, that you have one, that it's always been there. And in the deepest, darkest moments, when you whisper to yourself silently in the dark the word, my goddess or my God, it is to whom you are addressing. Always been there, always has always been with you and listening, never has left you, and in fact is a part of your aura and sits in a globe of light about 6 inches above the head. And as you grow more and more aware of it, it dips down further and further until it becomes, what does that look like to you?
Like a crown.
Like a crown or a halo.
Mm-hmm.
universal human iconography. There isn't a single culture that doesn't express the physicality imbued with spirit as anything but a halo. This corona of light around the head. We can encourage that dipping through ha prayer. Give your own God soul energy. Give your God soul work to do with sigils. Have a conversation and tea. Have a nice date night with your God soul. Do magic. Play. Oh my God. Play. All the play should be there. And I do mean actual, just human play. Running, jumping, climbing trees, drawing, painting, playing in the mud, stupid, sand, castles, whatever, right? Go to the beach, splash around, be stupid, flop, wear crazy clothes. Yes. Play. How can you know what you think until you see what you say? Journal all of it. All of it. And if that's a photographic journal, if that's a written journal, if that's an audio journal, whatever, all of them, do them all. If all of them work for you, do them all. If one of them works better for you, use it. Okay. So I think it's really interesting that this winds up sort of the tenor of today, because part of what we're going to be doing today is 9, and with 9 I always cover the triplicities, the triple soul. But before we get there, I love kind of a lot of what's going on in this discussion. I do want to know very specifically about your castings. So you did cast 3 individual distinct times.
Yes.
Awesome. You journaled each distinct time at a separate time.
Correct.
Awesome. Sometime between now and the end of the classes, I really would enjoin you to begin reviewing them, your journals, periodically.
Okay.
Okay. And just, you're not rereading to try and reaffirm an understanding. The best thing possible is wait until you forget the entry, then reread it.
Okay.
And read it as if someone else wrote it.
Okay.
What stands out to you? And get like 4 or 5 different colored paper, different colored highlighters, right?
Okay.
So that you can do several reviews. Oh, this word. Oh, I don't know why. That word I just looked at the page and there was the word. It's important. This number. Oh, this thing. Oh, that whole sentence. My God, I need to remember that. That's insane. That's perfect. I don't understand this. Which is always fun. Question mark, question mark, question mark. Put the question marks in there, right? Next time you go back, you may actually have the answer for the question marks. You may actually understand the number. You may already have seen the number in several future castings, right? And begin like taking it from this approach. This is my God soul trying to have a conversation with me. Not a one-way dialogue where everything goes up and I don't get to get shit in a hamburger universe where everything is transcendent and above me and I'm just the poor leavings behind that doesn't get anything. But that these are the actual nouns and verbs that your God soul is trying to get you to string together.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. And this is, you know, I was mentioning earlier, you know, the esoteric and exoteric. Remember when I talked about those? That exoteric or outward mystery is something that can be taught, like this technique.
Mhm.
I can teach this technique all day and all night. When you finally use the technique, the esoteric truth unfurls itself for you, the inner mystery. You know, a whole bunch of high priestesses and high priests have been being snotty little bitches for a lot of years, talking about the mystery of the craft. There's nothing mysterious, by the way, about the practice of the craft, and it hasn't been since the 1940s. What is mysterious is what happens when you fucking use it, because the techniques work. That's the mystery. So that's the mystery that we're going to dive into today. And let's go ahead and take a look at our first slide. And that is the joyous rise of organization and systems of 9. Very interesting. This was written months, maybe a year ago. And what are we looking at here? What did we just talk about? Self-gnosis. One of the very first lessons that one of my most influential and powerful teachers, Thorne Quayle, you may know Thorne's work from Evolutionary Witchcraft, Kissing the Limitless, and additional books beyond. One of her first lessons was know yourself. And she put it in this way, right? Know yourself. Oh, that's so huge. It's so nebulous, blah, 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 blah. You're right, because everyone is a fucking iceberg. And what you know about yourself is the tip of the tip of the tip. That's all you've audited in your life. Me too. I'm no exception. All of us, we know that much about ourselves. That much. Corbin Dallas, real short, short. Corbin Dallas, right? What we don't know about us is the rest of the fucking iceberg. Under the ocean, occulted by the dark of the sea. So she put a spin on this idea of self-gnosis to make it easier for us to latch on to something that we can get real tread, real traction, real wheels on pavement, real momentum behind. And she made us really focus on know your worth.
You know, and that's interesting because the 10-line sigil, the thing that I was bringing to the goddess was being able to understand and value the simplicity and cherish my gift. That's what I've been asking for those 3 attempts at this. So that's interesting that is actually what you're going over today.
Mm-hmm. That's right. That is the esoteric mystery. We've already pointed your ship along this path. If you really do the work, you will actually, nobody else has gotten, by the way, nobody else has gotten to really a depth of the unfolding of the possibility of the work here in this series. Nobody yet. People showed up for 7, showed up for 6, showed up for 5 or 3 or whatever it is that they had an interest in. Alex is the only one besides myself who has cast all 11 of these. And one series of casting is not near enough to begin unpacking the course of learning, lifelong learning, that's in this simple technique. Not kidding you.
So now do you?
You're
I'm sorry.
already anticipating. Let me finish my thing and then please hold your thought.
Sure.
You're already anticipating the next move, knowing what the progression is from a merely intellectual standpoint. This is good. I would really encourage you to do the whole series. Go on.
I definitely plan on doing the whole series because I enjoy the class and I enjoy listening to you speak. I was telling Alex about that the other day. So my question is obviously you do this on a normal basis where you do your sigils and stuff. Do you find that there are times that it doesn't always work?
Or it does something I never predicted.
Okay.
And most of the time, it did something I never predicted is way better than I ever could have asked for.
Okay.
Yeah. But sigilization is my primary means of ecstatic communication with the divine, other than drawing down. Drawing down is like, it's a commitment. It's a lot. It's a lot. It's a lot. There's a cost to your body. And it takes recovery time. And it influences and alters aspects of your personality for a brief period. And it's always easier to handle the tech with another priest or priestess. Sigilization creates a layer of sort of buffer between you and your glimpses of the beyond human. And that really allows you to, I always say, pour water through your cup and you will shape the fountain that comes out, right? And so just like if you make it more of a funnel, you're going to get like this pure stream. If you open it up, it's going to be a bath. If you make it flat, it's going to be a sheet of water, right? This is every time you pour light or consciousness or awareness or energy through any container, you shape the energy like the container. Yes. Sigilization creates a container that you are already wrapped around for gnosis. You know its worth, you know what it is, you know where it's heading, you have a feeling about it. This is good, this is awesome, this is the magic I want to be doing. This is right. I have a ship and a vessel with a keel that can cut through the noise. And I don't have to have the raw glimpse, veil dropped, of all things more than human. Ugh. Which, girl, face-side is not a happy deal. It's not. It's like if you've ever been around like autistic kids.
Yes.
Yeah. Their timing belt is different.
Mm-hmm.
And face-side's the same way. You want to see the world without like these filters? Knock yourself out. Navigate that.
Yeah, no.
And drive a car and have a job and have friends. No thanks. Right? So sigilization for me allows enough of that, like gauze, right? I can push against it and I can feel it pushing back. I can kind of see through it, but whatever I draw on it is mine, and I get to shape the energy coming through. So that when I pour water upon my head and become a fountain unto the universe, I have already pre-shaped that divine force.
Okay.
Okay. So for me, it's my preferred method. If I can wrap a sigil around it, I will. Oh yes, absolutely. And yeah, this is I've used sigils and scrying as my two primary methods for everything from basics work through my first degree, through my second degree, through my 40-day working, through. And I will always go back to it as a preferred methodology because I get results every time. They aren't always what I asked for, but honey, zero complaints, no backfires, no, none. Part of that is, use the tech correctly. Give the sigil to your God soul, right? Your God soul cares one thing, and that's about being the most knowing, perfect, protective, loving, giving part of you to you, where all is forgiveness and grace, not blame, shame, fear, or guilt, not control. No, none of those things. Does that kind of help wrap context around that?
Oh, very much so.
Good.
Like I said, it's because it was all such a like overwhelmingly new experience for me. It's just like I'm in awe by it. I'm
You should be.
I feel so blessed to have succeeded in it.
Yes.
But on top of it all, it's like when you are on the level of a child and they see everything, and so you're looking at everything with brand new eyes.
Yes.
And for me, it's like I was telling Alex, I'm a sponge. I just want to absorb so much.
Do.
And so that's what I've been doing. And since I started it, it was just like everything is just, oh, that's because of this. That's because of this. It's just like
Yes.
coming at me.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
I didn't know if it was like something that you can continue to do, or if it's like, okay, I've done now all these lines that I'm supposed to be doing for this class. Is it something that I can continue to do?
Yeah, of course it is. And once you understand sort of the resonant signature of each of the numbers, what is 9 about? That's why I give you like all of these like clacking sort of phraseologies. This is about understanding self in complexity. This is about complexity. This is about how you deal with challenge. This is about how you build intimate connections. This is about what you consider foundational. This is about the philosophic core of yourself. This is about winning with others and cooperative behavior. All of these numbers, cooperative behavior, 6, winning with others, 8, financial success, 9, living in your own complexity, 10, 4, building a solid foundation. All of these, 3, intimate circles, 2, how you deal with like polarity and the other side, the holy yes and the holy no. When you draw lines in the sand, that's what you're doing. When you face off, when you join up with friends, that's 2. Once you understand these resonances, the signature of that number, you can make it way more complex. And we can get into like what Fairy calls Polynesian visualization, which I don't know why. They had nothing better to call it. And the aspects of magical praxis that they were focusing on at the time really harkened back to the questionable Huna initiation of our line's founder, right? So they call it Polynesian visualization. All it is true actualization of your imagination within a magical sphere. You smell what you're looking for, you taste what you're looking for, you see what you're looking for. You get Aumakua, which you already have had and described to me as being in awe of this process. Remember I said, if you're doing it right, you're having fun and you'll make the hairs on the back of your neck stand up.
Most
That's
definitely.
true awe. That's holy dread. It's Aumakua. That's what you're aiming at. That's what
Yeah.
you're trying to steer your ship into.
Yeah, it was definitely that, like I said, I thought I had done something wrong because it was just like, whoosh.
Bring it in, bring it in. And that's where this, I'm going to continue to call it Polynesian visualization, comes in, is if you find that there is a plant ally that resonates with the number 4 and you're working with the number 4, bring in the plant, put it on your altar, eat the plant, cook with the plant, if you can, if it's edible, right? Make a salve out of the plant, put it on your, take a sprig of it, put it under your pillow and sleep with it. Smell it as you're doing work. If you find out that there's a stone that resonates with this work, great, wear the stone, wrap the stone, have the stone, make a ring out of the stone, talk to the stone, give the stone a job. Cleanse my aura, please, while I do this work. Stones, by the way, love jobs. If you cleanse them, tune them, give them a job, they love it. And they work. Stones are our best fucking allies. They were my first magical ally. Seriously, I kept one of these happy guys in my pocket.
Is that a clear quartz?
Nope. So you see it's a double pyramid, right? So there's pyramid on one side, pyramid on the other. And this is a fluorite piece.
Okay.
This just happens to be a clear fluorite. But these isosohedron fluorites were mainstays in metaphysical stores when I was a kid. Right, you get, because they grow naturally and they're easy to harvest and they're beautiful and they come in every fucking color of the rainbow, and each color really sort of change. They all are for like mental clarity and awareness, but you know the color really changes a lot of the smell of that energy, right? And clear is like pure mental clarity and focus. Right, the purples were my favorite, and of course they're really third eye opening, so they help with like tuning into psychic information, which is really just the sort of the shared astral monitored space of humanity. You can think of it as the lower pre-subconscious of the God soul of humanity, whom I talked about before. All right. So just above, you have a user interface to your God, right? Your globe, your halo. Well, one step above that is the astral, which are really just the shared psychic detritus, and it is the realm of all unmanifest possibility. But anyways, you can get lost in it. Don't get lost in it. Anyways, stones are great allies. So if you have a stone that's an ally, bring it into the work. If you have a plant, bring it into the work. If you witches use what's there. What's at hand? What have you got around? Oh, let me see. Is that a cup work, or is that a wand work, or is that a blade work, or is that a plate work? I think it's plate work. This is really about physical manifestation. Awesome. Grab your pentacle plate. If you don't have a pentacle plate, take a fucking paper plate and draw a pentacle on it. Now you have a pentacle plate. Put it on your altar.
You can do that?
Yes. You're a witch, girl.
I guess I never had anybody actually tell me I could do those things and they're all right.
You can do all those things and you will not open a portal to hell unless you want to.
Yeah, I definitely don't want to. I got enough problems.
All right, very good. So, yes, you know, and as a matter of fact, you know, I have astral replacements of all my tools. So if I want my black blade, right, it's sitting on my altar, but I'm at work. I don't care. Conjure it. Black blade's right in my hand. There it is. Let's do the work. If I need my cup, I know every inch of my chalice. It was one of the most beautiful gifts to me during one of my initiations. It's exquisite. And I love it. I love the weight and the heft of it. It's a lead-free pewter piece. It's absolutely beautiful. Isis with her wings is actually the base. Hold this beautiful, very lotus-looking fluted cup. I am my cup. I am my blade. I am my plate. I always tell students, you are the fairy ring. You are the circle. Become them. And what does it mean to become the circle? Well, what it means is that you are in a place, not a place, a time, not a time, and you bridge the worlds, the divine and the mundane. And all you have to do is, you know, Jade talks about this all the time with her definition of ecstasy, that we are ecstatic beings, and witchcraft is an ecstatic practice. And what she means by that is what's defined by Grey Cat and deepening witchcraft as priestess mind, being able to be simultaneously in more places than one at the same time.
Like an astral projection?
But all at the same, all the same. I can be standing on my altar right now and sitting here talking to you. I don't need to project to do that. I have absolute access to all of my weapons, tools, whether they're physical or metaphysical. And let's say I'm supposed to be drumming, chanting, guiding people around the circle, monitoring what's going on outside the circle, watching the other three gals on the hill from my coven to see who's dropping the veil and who's wearing the veil, see what's happening with the coconuts, whether we have enough coconuts to actually break over people's heads, because we're doing a coconut blessing tonight, and what is the temperature like, and who's coming down the road, and are they actually for the ritual or not for the ritual? And you following me?
Yeah.
This is who we are. This is our nature. This is why they want us and want to be us and want to fuck us. We're all of that. We're not one at a time, this thing or that. If you get a chance to see Everywhere, Everything, Everywhere, All at Once by Michelle with Michelle Yao in it, do see it.
Is it everything?
Everything, Everywhere, All at Once. It is, Jade and I and a couple of our friends have actually been talking about how this movie presents to magical users a practical way of wrapping your brain around what it means to actually have priestess mind and be ecstatic. That you can live in multiple timelines, you can live in multiple universes, you can act, in other words, be an agent of action and change across all of them simultaneously. And this is the beginning of our potential. Beginning. Corbin Dallas. Eventually, we're going to get the Lilu. Lilu. Right? We're going to start with Lilu Dallas multipass. She knows it's a multipass. Anyway, we're in love. So, right? Right? So, take a look at the suggested reading and charts for 9 is in your all materials. And we're going to get to this in a second. But first, what I want you to do is open up the first of those 2 links that I sent you. And I want you to watch it. And we're going to, and
You go staticky when I open it.
it goes staticky.
It's not letting me open it. Okay.
It's about 6 minutes. I should have time to go pee and come back. should be finishing up. All right. What will be cute little weirdo? Okay, let me know when you're done with that. Okay, looks like you got through it.
I think so.
Yeah. So the whole point of this exercise is that I wanted to come at this from many angles. This is the angle of a ninth note on the pentatonic scale. And that's what they're talking about. Now, the pentatonic scale, you know, has been around since the time of the lyre in
Hold on
music
one
making.
second, I think. You kept talking. Sorry.
No, it's okay.
Okay.
Are you with me?
I think so.
Awesome. I wanted to come at this from several angles, right? So what he's talking about is a ninth chord in a pentatonic scale. So as you heard, it's very bluesy sounding,
Mhm.
right? Yeah.
Almost
What
like
I find particularly
chorus.
interesting is that jazz musicians, blues and folk musicians are very attracted to a ninth note in their scale. What it winds up producing for them is a sense of depth, emotional resonance, and complexity that you can't get without going into the flat zone, right? You like incorporating your flats, but flats give you something that wants to be resolved. A note that you hear that you keep waiting for to be resolved. Whereas with a ninth in the pentatonic scale, it itself produces a pleasant and pleasurable emotional timbre to the music. Timbre. It means coloring. Now what I'd love you to do is click on the second link. And we're going to actually like unpack this in a really practical and easy way. Okay, you should have a keyboard set to C. and there are controls for the keyboard at the top. You'll see real keys is pre-selected and sustain is pre-selected. Please go ahead and also click on letter notes. That'll highlight and that'll give you C, D, E, F, G, A, B, blah, 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 all the way through each of your octaves on the keyboard.
Okay.
Do you got those?
Yes.
You should have a red dot on middle C,
Yes.
the major C. That's what, when we say something is written in the octave of major C, C major, this is what we mean. Okay. So what he was pointing at with his awesome little tutorial is the difference in sound that happens when a chord is created using the additional 9th note on the pentatonic scale. Now the pentatonic scale is really easy. If you click C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, you're going up, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. C to C, that's 1 octave. Okay. To bring in the additional 9th is D. And you can hear the shift when you go from that second C to D. You know that you're in a whole different emotional range. So try that and listen to them. And let me know when you've kind of heard like the progression of those sounds and how they feel for you.
It definitely gets louder and stuff. It's like you're just going up in a.
Uh-huh. Now, chords are created when you create an interval between the notes. The chords that gentleman was talking about, all of them omit the in-between notes. So if we went C, E, G, B, that would be one of the chords that he was playing. Once again, C, E, G, B. And the way that we can bring the 9th in is to continue on and go C, E, G, B, D. And I want you to tell me emotionally how you respond to the chord C, E, G, B on its own. And then what changes does it make for you emotionally when you go C, E, G, B, D?
It's a little higher of a pitch on that last D than it would be if you weren't hitting that last B.
But emotionally, where does it take you?
Honestly, it doesn't do much. For me, I guess
You're hysterical.
when
So-
I hear the music, it's just like I hear it, but that distinction, instead of playing all of them, is not as predominant as it is skipping them.
Yeah, you really get to feel them. You know, C begins very warm and optimistic. By the time you get to E, you're like, oh, there's a thought progression here. G, you're like, okay, I'm halfway there, right? B, you're like, oh, this is lovely. But then you add the D and it's like, where did that come from?
Yeah.
Uh-huh. That sort of questioning is part of here's what's really important here. The object lesson behind doing all of this is that each of these numbers has its own signature, its own vibration, its own trigger to awareness in us. And it happens across color. It happens across sound. It happens with taste. It happens. All of these things we're the vehicle through which they move.
Okay.
And, you know, it's like all things, you know, when you're trying to teach people, you hit them with the fire hose and something is going to stick. If this doesn't stick, fine, something else will. But if it does stick, start playing with it. And some of these ideas of like musical notes and progressions, part of the standard practice of contemporary OTO magic, which is Ordo Templi Orientis, the only real practical inheritor of the magic of Aleister Crowley, is to vibrate in particular notes and keys the names of the entities that they're calling. And it sounds bizarre. If you've ever heard Yasmin Gale-Norn's album of her gelding the runes, it's kind of like that. It's a whole lot of right? But the final product, when brought into a magical practice, is so somatic, it's engulfing and transporting, and it creates and triggers ecstatic states. Some of them are quite predictably, oh, you went to the third, eighth year. Of course. You were in D sharp. Which, if you talk to some of these long-standing practitioners of OTO, they'll actually have that level of informed knowledge about what this kind of shit can do to the body, mind, and soul. I'm not kidding you. The Hindus and my God, they codified the cities like 3,000-4,000 years ago in Ayurvedic science, where they know, oh yeah, oh, you're getting psychic opening. Well, first you'll get this, and then you get this, and then you get this, and then you get this. They're called the siddhis, and they're actually they try to avoid psychic awakening and opening because it distracts from enlightenment. So I wanted to hit you with that and see if it stuck. Other stuff that we're going to hit you with, let's do that next. We're going to do, oh God, this drop down. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to look at just other characters that use 9 lines. Just to like, let it soak in, let it wash through.
A lot of geometrical shapes.
I love this one. So pretty. It's very 1970s, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Like, what was that Disney flick about the 2 kids? They were aliens. Return to Witch Mountain.
Oh, okay.
The star case.
Yeah.
This is actually OTO. Straight up. So I wanted those to like wash over your consciousness. That's all. Just a little consciousness washing.
So now, like with the music, is it
Yeah.
possible to get to that level using just regular music and not always instrumental?
Yeah, of course. All you have to do is Google like a major 9th pentatonic, and you'll see that it's been used by the Beatles. It's been used in God, what's the song called? She's So Hard or something like that. But it's off of the Abbey Lane album, Abbey Road album. The Pink Floyd uses it in Run Rabbit Run. There are contemporary artists that are using this key to like really like punch home like complicated emotional states. Yeah. Oh my, even what did I even found like there's a James Brown song that's almost written entirely in major ninths. It's and it's funny because once you hear it, once you actually like perceive, oh, that's a ninth chord, right? You'll hear it everywhere. And almost always what they're doing is they're trying to like vivim punch up the emotional depth of, or counterbalance the emotional depth of the lyrics in the music.
Okay.
It's amazing. So I wanted to do this. The word sigil comes from the Latin sigillum, meaning a sign or signature. And this is part later, of course, the theory of signatures upon which the humoral system of medicine is based would be invented. That each thing has a signature, and that signature can be tapped by tapping an example of it or exemplar of it, such as a plant that has been touched by the signature of Mercury, in other words, pure electric fire from the moon, is rosemary. Why? Because it is the common simple, in other words, a plant you can grow in your backyard that also is medicinal and has the highest content of a volatile essential oil of any other. So its signature is mercurial. Anyways, so meaning a sign or signature. In magical items, a sigil is a unitary glyph. In other words, all the lines touch. Derived from a name, word, or magical formula by means of a direct analogical process, not digital, analog, human-made, such as, and he goes into OTO bullshit. This is Alice Crowley, by the way, that we're reading. Crazy Uncle Al, such as numerical conversion or tracing upon magical squares, a Jewish practice called Kamail. If the appropriate process, key, is reversed, then the name or word may be retrieved from the pattern of the sigil. That mystery of witchcraft. Just say mystery of witchcraft. Mystery. You are a mysterious weirdo. That's awesome. Go for it. But it's all true. However, if the sigil is condensed or compressed, or if it was generated using a system you're unfamiliar with, you may be unable to decipher it by reversing the coding process. That is absolutely true of 9/10 of the sigils that I create. Nobody's going to be able to decode what I do, which is why I don't care about coding systems, and I don't teach you a coding system. There are many out there, and you can look them up, and they usually use magic squares, and you draw the name of the entity you want to invoke, and then you use that as your sigil, and your prayer looks very different, and it's entrenched deeply in a Western Christian mystical tradition. Fuck that. I am not a Christian. I can go to hell, where they will go. Anyways, have fun. When they poke you up the butt, it's going to hurt. Ooh, poor you. Start doing anal. You'll get used to it. Pretty soon you'll be riding the pitchfork. Girl. Woo, party girls in hell. Come on. And can you dress fabulous, please? So I wanted to read this because there is to really just to show you that there is provenance behind everything that I teach you has been going thousands and thousands and thousands of years. This is not new tech. That said, all right, we've done our outline. We've looked at gnosis. We didn't approach 9 as the servitor. Now, we did talk about magic mirror, which is a servitor or type of fetch. Right? Do you know what a fetch is? Magical object, you create, fetch something.
Okay.
Just like it sounds. Go fetch. Right? The golem of Jewish folklore is just another fetch, right? He happens to have a particular function, and that function is not always nice, but it's just another magical servitor, right? 9 works both directions, as all things have a light side and a dark side, right? So if there is not only gnosis on one side of 9, the flip side of 9 is the servitor, which has no intrinsic identity other than function. Last week, I really recommended Promethea. I don't think I would really, as far as like outside material that deals with systems of 9, I think there's only one chapter of the Witch's Bible I would find interesting for you, and that's the chapter on chords. So if we're looking at the Black Book by the Farrars, it's called the Witch's Bible Complete. It's actually 2 books in one, right? And in them, there's one of the books deals with the actual exoteric or outward forms. And in it, there is a chapter on the magical chords of initiation. I would highly encourage you to read it.
I've never even knew there was a book.
Well, new book for your list.
Yeah, I have a lot of them to read.
Meanwhile, and this is the point where you can start like concepting what you want your 9 lines to look like. Okay. So as you concept, just listen, right? And this is a story about the triple soul that has triple soul. And we're going to use terms like the feeling part of the feeling self, the most primitive or primal of ourselves. And I will use the base or root chakra as a thing that you can latch onto easily to help you kind of understand it. Now, chakras themselves, chakra means wheel, and there's a fabulous book called Magical Wheels, I believe, written by one of our founding mothers. And I'm going to try and look it up for you. Oh, no. I'm getting the name wrong. Hey, babe. It's a book on chakras written by old school witch. It's called Wheels of Life.
The Wheel of Life.
The Wheel of Life.
Wheel of Life is what it's called.
Is what it's called. Do you remember her name?
Yes.
Yeah,
Second.
I know. Let me look.
I'll do it. I almost had it. One sec. So obviously she's white. She's Anglo.
Here it is. The Thunga? That's not her name.
No, it's this one, Wheels of Life.
Wheels of Life. There we go.
Anna Dia Judith.
By Anna Dia Judith.
So you have to like understand that it's a Western woman's
Yes.
perspective,
Yep.
but it's informative. And she also does this really great if people get really into it. There's Anna Dia Judith. So remember, she's a white lady, but with a witchcraft background, right? But she does this book called Western Body, Eastern Mind.
Yep.
That is
Fantastic.
kind of like this companion, especially because we can't escape the fact that we are anglicized in America. We are white folk practicing a mystical Eastern tradition
Right.
that gives this amazing provenance, and she kind of combines this practice, Eastern body, Western body, Eastern mind, gives this, mixes this into the fold with a yoga practice that is so phenomenal for someone who practices this tradition and this magical way of moving and working within the system that is also, there's no way around it. We're American. We're westernized.
Right.
So it kind of brings that into the fold while giving honor and provenance where we're taking this
It from. Good. Did you hear all that?
I did.
Good. Awesome. Now, the Wheels of Life deals specifically with the chakras. And chakras, I would invite you to expand you may think of them now just as a series of colors that happen to correspond with the part of the body, unless you have any deeper knowledge through yoga or study. What they are you could think of them as equivalents to body systems, body energy systems, right? So what is the most feeling part of your feeling self? Instinct. And if we are to look at our instinctive nature isn't just that. There's a thinking part to that too. It doesn't use words, but it has its own thoughts. Do I trust? Don't I trust? If I don't trust, how much of an emergency? If it's a big fat emergency, guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to make you pee and poop right now. And I'm going to make like all of these systems come alive electrically and bioorganically to produce so much energy in your body that you just fucking run for your life. That's the thinking part. And then there's a knowing part of this feeling self. The knowing part of instinct is you swing your feet over the side of the bed and you put your feet on the floor. You already know what the floor is. You already know where your feet are. You don't need to question it. You don't need to think about it. There's no cogitation involved. When you're ready to run, because you just shouldn't pissed yourself because you're about to get hit by a car that's aiming at you, you just run. You don't need to know where the floor is. You just run. So part of what we pray for in fairy magic, I would know myself in all my parts. And I would build knowledge and conversation with all of them, not just my holy guardian angel, not just my God soul, but with all of my souls. So I want knowledge of and conversation with my instinctive nature, which itself is tripartite. It is a feeling, thinking, and a knowing part. In fact, there's a body system that corresponds very beautifully to this, and that's your enteric nervous system and your sexual and reproductive system. Shocker that there's some system that corresponds to each, which there is. The Hindus, remember I said the Hindus mapped all this shit out like that? Yeah, Ayurveda, 8,000 years of practice. They mapped all this shit out. These particular words, Vivi, Emi, Ori, are actually African diaspora, but they pretty much talk about the 3 cauldrons of the Norse. The cauldron of heating, the cauldron of compassion, I think, and the cauldron of vocation, the triple soul. The same thing with the ancient Egyptians, with the Ba, the Ka, and the Sahu. Same thing with. We don't have a soul. We have a panoply of souls. And we've known this as a human race since before we identified as a human race. The next set of souls, right? So if we're talking about root chakra, sex chakra, and solar plexus, the gut knowing, I just know it in my gut. Do you like it? We know this little girl, she's 2. Monica's 2.
No,
3? She's 2.
she's like 18 months. She's a year.
18 months. 18 months. You know what she has to say to you? Rah. Hey! She'll go, hey! Hi. She is the feeling part of her feet. She's pre-verbal. It doesn't mean she doesn't think. It doesn't mean she doesn't know. And it doesn't mean she doesn't have the indelible stamp of her own indomitable personality, which she does. We have this too. And this part of us loves music and poetry and art and things that make us epithelate, make the hairs stand up on the backs of our heads. And these are the parts, aspects. This is the soul. We call it the sticky one because things stick to it. That actually can communicate meaningfully on the astral, can communicate meaningfully with God's soul in an easy way because it is not constricted by the rules and algebra of natural language. Feelings, thoughts, images, sensations, pictures, all are involved in its method of communication. You want to start talking by collage? That's the VV. The sticky one, the child self. By the way, you can read any number of books on this. If you want an easy one, my former teacher, Dorncoyle's Evolutionary Witchcraft. It'll give you a crash course in fairy tech. Grr.
What's the name of it?
Evolutionary Witchcraft. You can get it on Kindle. And if you stick around long enough and you actually want the interactive DVD, we have it around here somewhere. Thorn and her crazy ass fucking dances. They're so awesome. I danced them for 2.5 years. Ugh. Anyways, so you were already putting this together, right? The feeling part of the feeling self, the thinking part of the feeling self, the knowing part of the feeling self. Now just raise the octaves, right? Vivi of Emmy, right? The feeling part of the thinking self, the thinking part of the thinking self, the knowing part of the thinking self. So we're dealing with like heart chakra, the first human chakra, where compassion happens. All of this below is I-centric. I want to survive. I need food. I need safety. I need sleep. I need sex. I need play. I need temperature, right temperature. I need, yeah, I need those things. If I don't have those things, I can't survive. So I need to get those things by hook or crook. The heart is where we can first begin to hold the God down underneath her hand of love and say, your expansion at this moment is not the right, it's not the right call. Hold off, wait. You'll get something better in 5 hours because then you'll really be hungry for dessert. Right? Okay, awesome. So this is where humanity happens at the heart chakra, throat chakra, which is all about communication, language. It's about, so if the VV wants to stick to things and accrete knowledge and grow awareness and see all the patterns in this wall and see the different like variations and divagations and the oddities of this hand painted piece, and oh my God, and you can scry in it and it resembles like a crown or a forest or this or that. No, it's Mew. It's still just Mew. Pokemon Go. Right? Then the human part of us actually restricts that flow of info. Right? What the thinking part of the thinking self wants to see are Euclidean lines and spaces that are well defined, and that's a door and that's a car, and I have to be there at 6, and this deliverable is due then, and processing, right? Okay, you need to be at the soccer field by 4:30 and back that up. Have you packed your bag? Are you doing this? Are you doing that? Have you gone pee? Blah, 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 blah. Have we eaten yet? No. All right, we have to start now, mama, we're late. Right? This we call the shining one, shining body, the talker, right? And the talker does not have direct access to God. The talker has direct access to the VV, the sticky one, right? And they go back and forth, and sometimes the talker holds the sticky one captive and is very mean and beats up on and is terrible. You have an ugly body. You're never good enough. You stupid, dumb, so childish. You have to, most inappropriate times, you like could pull up these, inventory these embarrassments, or pull out and address these conditions you find unfair, and make me act out because now suddenly I'm pissed off and I have no fucking clue why. Right? That's the talker. Very enslaved to processing language, timetables and schedules, expectations. The talker is about control. The talker is about all of these things, even though the very base core of our beginning of understanding of psychic ability happens within the realm of the talker. Heart, throat, third eye. And I always make a division between them. There's lower third eye and upper third eye. But anyways. And this is the thinking self, or the thinking soul. And then the highest part, the knowing. And there is a feeling part of the knowing self. There is a thinking part of the knowing self. There's a knowing part of the knowing self. So if we're looking at upper third eye, we're looking at crown chakra, and we're looking at all things beyond human. And I see you fading out, girl.
I'm
It's
sorry.
it's 9:13. I know we're pushing 2 hours, so we're almost at our limit, but we're almost there. You're almost there. So think of these this way. If we go from a primal self to our urge to connect with others, to our gut knowing and understanding and listening to our intuition, which really is just gut knowing, it's not up here. And this works very differently and gives us info, right? To building compassion and bridges, to reasoning and how that happens, to intuition and connectedness to other humans and the flow of humanity, right, in our psychic awareness. To, here's the deal, moments of actual lightning strike, transformative flashes of, well, that reset my frame, like your experience with your castings has been. It's a way to shatter a mirror. It's a way to change a paradigm. It's a way to have a healing crisis. To the crown chakra, our actual interface with the divine, your UI, user interface, right? This is your God soul, what I would call IO. And then beyond that, to the all, which in our mystical experience is absolutely the floor beneath your feet and the conglomerate of all things seen and unseen that you're moving through. That was 10, right? Right now we're gonna pull that level of awareness down to 9. We're just gonna keep it here within our auric egg, our halo, and that bit of don't touch me zone awareness, the energy field, static energy field, sticky 1, static energy field, auric egg, talker, halo, God, soul, Vivi, Emmy, Ori, or for the Jews, there is the Ruach, talker. Damn it. What are the other two? Ruach. It's Ruach is talker. Nashama is God soul.
Nefesh.
And Nefesh, the sticky one. So if you wanted to look up Kabbalah, Nefesh, Ruach, Neshama. And you'll learn about this triple soul pattern. 3 in 3. And I would, of course, just want to say, as a capstone thought, when Ezekiel had his awesome hallucination, do you remember what he talked about?
Oh, you're asking me to go way back in my Christianity days.
Wheels within wheels. And what does the word chakra mean?
Really?
Wheel. Let all of that wash over you as you draw your 9 lines.
So when I draw those 9 lines and I'm thinking about what I'm doing, do I need to put into those 9 lines the thought that I'm wanting to have portrayed or ask for?
Yeah, all of the above. Yes, and this is never there will never be an either or in this class.
Okay.
There will always be a Yes, and.
And should it be the same question or a different question?
It depends on how you're using the question. I hear what you're asking. I hear what you're asking and meaning. So I'm going to give you an object lesson. When Jade, my wife, who just spoke about Anadea Judith, when she does a tarot reading, she only ever asks one question, ever, period. What accompanies my soul today? What accompanies my soul today? It's the only question she ever asks of tarot. And yet she has gotten a bajillion thousand million different answers, right? Because she's using the question to guide her God soul into actually providing data, information, answers. She isn't pigeonholing the divine into, you know how Custard killed all of the Nez
Mhm.
He funneled them into a V-shaped cavern so that he could kill him right there. Many of us try and use our questions and questioning of the divine as a V cavern. Pigeonhole and push the divine to one only answer, and it's always wrong. So it depends how you're using your question. If you're using your question to open yourself and open to a much larger possible truth, use the same question.
Okay.
Yeah. If you're using the question to the cavern God, chuck that. Find a new way. Does that answer your question?
Yes.
Awesome. when you feel like you have your sigil drawn, vocalize the word yes.
Yeah,
You're done?
I think so.
Awesome. Okay, I'm gonna finish this accent. And then I will be able to say a conditional yes. I have the lines. They require some zhuzhing. Okay, I'm totally excited. Hit me. What you got? Wow. Oh, holy cow. Ooh, just got chills. Wow.
It's like I heard music.
See?
I'm a very big Doors person. I love the Doors, and so I just hear him in his ultra sultry voice, and just
Yes.
came to me. Him, Janis Joplin, and Otis Redding, and all of it.
Wow. And they took you on this journey, did they?
Yes, they did.
Well, I cannot wait to hear how the casting goes for this. That is absolutely beautiful. And I will admit it's a lot to hold in your consciousness. So you may need to use the paper to do your casting. However, I really can't wait to hear how this goes. And I just know you're going to be in for a ride with your journal entries.
Yes.
By the way, so some of the things that I don't know if I've mentioned this before, but if I have, I want to reiterate it. Things like I heard Otis Redding. I heard the one that died in the car crash. We actually saw his grave in France. He's in Paris, Lachaise.
Jim Morrison. No.
Jim Morrison. The fact that those names and that music is what you heard, please, when you get details that are that specific to your sort of your pantheon of symbols, jot them down. Don't lose those, right? Okay. Awesome. So
That is wicked. That is so wicked.
yeah, it's actually kind of frightening me a little bit, and I'm not sure why, but it's in a really it's really strong, and I can feel its strength, and I'm like, ooh, okay, it's going to be some work to cast this, but I'm super excited and absolutely love it. And yeah, there's class, kiddo.
I'm sorry, I was yawning so much. 5 o'clock came really early this
No, don't be sorry at all. There's no reason to be sorry at all for the reals. There shouldn't be. You know, as far as I'm concerned, we all have lives. We are all